I tried to make the presentation as light as possible, but some of the ideas are visual, so we would follow along as we go through. So the topic of my presentation is tracking our spaces and ideas. So the work that we do is a battlefield of ideas and narratives. There are many ideas, concepts, and things that influence our space, influence how people think, influence what people do, and whoever has the most compelling idea wins. Um, whoever has the most interesting, the most sought after, the most subscribed to idea is the one who wins at the end of the time. And there's an interesting quote by Victor Hugo that says that nothing else in the world, not all the armies, is so powerful as an idea whose time has come. No war, no dictator, nobody can fight the momentum of an idea whose time has come. If you think back to the 60s, there was a space in time where all the African countries were getting their independence. And it was like a wave passing through the whole continent. That was an idea whose time had come. And we have to propagate and push our ideas so that they gain that kind of momentum. That is a big part of our job, to nurture and propagate our ideas so that it pushes the world towards the goals that we want to achieve. And over the past decade, each one of us have different subcultures, sub-algorithms. We all have phones. There are things that we all see, but there are things that we all specifically see. There are things on your algorithm that I won't see on my algorithm because we all have different, interests and different combinations of those interests. And in my small sphere of the internet, I have seen a lot of changes and narratives change over the past decade, especially in places like the West and Europe and around the world. You have an idea like being woke, which originally comes from the 1940s, where this folk singer sang about the need for Black people to be awake to social injustice within a community. You had that word resurge again during the BML protests in 2020. The idea of being woke was popular, saying you have to be awake to the injustice in the world. You need to know what is happening. Don't be asleep at the wheel. But this is a word that was now co-opted by the right as a slur, as a derogatory term to say, oh, you are woke. You are too woke, So ideas can be corrupted and co-opted. Something like DEI, it was about diversity, inclusion, equity, something made to bring everyone together and give opportunities to those who may have been discriminated against, has now become the new nigger, the new N-word, the new dog whistle to say Black people. So when they say, hey, this plane crashed because the pilot was a DEI hire, they're really saying this plane crashed because the pilot was Black or a woman or disabled or whatever they want to use. So ideas are very important to track because, the devils work hard. The perpetrators of oppression, they work very hard. They spend years and decades and time pushing these ideas. The right-wing ideas were fringe 20 years ago, were relatively fringe. They were in small places like 4chan, small apps here and there, but now they are everywhere. And now you see Elon Musk doing the literal Sig Heil at the inauguration. They are working at pushing these ideas to push the world in the direction that they want to. We have to do the same. We have to work harder than them. Like I said, the perpetrators of oppression work hard to obtain power to inflict their ideals upon the world. But there are many kinds of power. There's soft power, there's cultural power, there's collaborative power, distributed power, there's people power. And if we want to nurture people power, we do that by nurturing and spreading the right ideas. So let's talk about space and ideas, because these are the two concepts that we are looking at. And I was thinking about this last night. And these are two sides of the same coin. Space talks about the physical world, the visible, the environment, the place, your body, the physical, tangible things. Ideas speaks to the invisible, to the spirit, to the vibe, to the energy. And these two things affect each other. The ideas you have and the ideas you keep in mind will affect your environment because you will bring them to life in your environment. If you are a dirty person, in your mind, you don't hold on to ideas of being organized, of being, precise. It will reflect in your environment. If you hold ideas of being precise, being organized, having things in a certain way, to show up in your environment. Your level of aesthetic sensibility will show up in your environment. And your environment will also affect the kind of ideas that you have. In some spaces, like Lagos, to make you very agitated, it will give you ideas of anxiety, ideas of stress, ideas of worry. A space like this will give you ideas of calm, ideas of peace, ideas of being connected to yourself. So these two things are very intertwined, our spaces and our ideas, and they both affect each other. So I've drawn this diagram as as a representation of this concept. We've got the space, the physical space, and these ideas, these topics, these things that affect back and forth, almost like atoms and molecules. They affect each other. But at the same time, we can start to look at these things in concentric circles, and they both kind of align. So if you think of space, when you break it down to the smallest level, the smallest space is you. It's yourself, It's your body, it's your immediate environment, it's your room, your house, it's you. Beyond that is community, the different communities that you're in, church, work, school, friends, all those communities. All those communities exist within a larger context. It could be the city, could be the town, could be the space where all these organizations work. And then all of that exists within the world where there's other people, other communities, other things happening. The way we are here as an organization pushing for advocacy of ecological rights and the rights of Mother Earth, there are also think tanks there pushing for fossil fuels and pushing for fracking and pushing for all these things, We are in competition. We are all working to try and shape what the prevailing worldview would be. And it goes from the inside out. You have to be aware and know what's within your control and make sure you're doing your part from the inside out to contribute towards the world you're trying to create. The same thing with ideas, You have your vision, you have your main core, the main thing you're trying to achieve. You have your unconscious, subconscious biases and ideas. You also have your mission, the things you're trying to do. You also have your personal philosophies, the way you do it, what approaches you take, what you do and what you wouldn't do. And then beyond that, you have the prevailing worldviews, the ideas out there in the world shaping other people, shaping other policies, shaping other things. It also goes from the inside out. We have to hold very strong sense of our vision, very strong sense of what we are trying to do. We have to have a sense of mission. We have to know what our philosophies are of how we do those things. And we need to push those things to affect the prevailing worldviews in the world to create the world that we want to see. Now, tracking means to take note of, to observe, to follow. The dictionary says to follow the trail or movements of something or someone, typically in order to find them or to note their course. If we want to track our spaces and our ideas, we need to take note of them. We need to observe them. We need to critically look at them. We need to see what is happening, see where they're going, and begin to intentionally affect the course of those things. So we have to track the ideas and talking points that influence our space. In the space of ecology, environmental rights, and all of that, there are different ideas that affect this space. There are our ideas and there are counter ideas. Like I said, there are other organizations working to push their own agenda. There's the idea that fossil fuels should continue. Trump would say, drill, baby, drill. They want to take Alaska, they want to take Greenland, they want to do whatever they like because they want more resources, they want more extraction, they want more oppression, they want more imperialism, they want more and more and more of that. Those are the counter ideas. We know what we want. We know we want equity. We know we want an ecologically sound environment. We know we want justice. We know we want all these things. We have to be aware of the ideas in our space to be able to define them, to be able to defend them, to be able to counter the counter arguments. What we did in the first day in discussing and highlighting our key ideas, what's environmental justice? What's climate justice? Those things are very important because words are important. If you want to fight against corruption, against corruption, you need to be able to be precise in the words that you use to describe the concepts you are speaking about and be able to defend them. Because otherwise, it can be very easy for someone to twist one word and change the entire meaning of the thing, you know? For instance, when global warming started becoming a very known topic, the prevailing ideas pushed by the oil companies was that we had to look at it from a consumer perspective, consumer responsibility. How do you reduce your own carbon footprint? Not about how they should stop producing or how they should look for other alternative things, you know? It's how they frame, it's the same idea we're looking at climate change, global warming, but they reframe the solution in such a way to support their own ideas. We have to be very aware of those things and be able to bring them back to the right perspective, the right reframing of the idea. And we do that by monitoring the conversation. And there's many ways to monitor the conversation in our space. This is something that we all have to be doing in our desks overall. You know, looking at things like Google Trends. You can literally go on the internet, go on Google Trends and type how many people were searching for this word over the past year in Nigeria, in this country, in this space. You can do things like that. You can see how popular certain ideas and certain trends have become over time. You can monitor the space and know what people are talking about the most. What ideas are prevailing? What are people pushing? What's becoming popular? What's rising? What's falling? Word clouds are a great way to also visualize that, to say, okay, what's the most important word? What's the least important ones? Which ones are being pushed? Which ones are being subsiding? Look at things like social engagements. What do people engage with? What are people talking about online? You know, who is dominating the conversation? How do we interject ourselves in the conversation? How do we interrupt the conversation? How do we pull the conversation to our way of thinking? You know, we can look at the places that we are featured. You know, where are we giving platforms to speak and propagate and share our ideas? Where are we being left? What rooms are we being left out of? You know, you know, when the COP leaders are sitting to meet, they are not bringing us into the meeting with the world leaders. You know, we have to force our ways into those spaces. We have to find ways to interrupt that conversation. We have to know who is talking about and where they're talking about these things. Next one. We have to push back against corruption of ideas, and counter ideas. We have to stay woke. We have to stay vigilant and rooted in our core ideals. We have to stay unshakable in those core things and be ready to fight, be ready to argue, be ready to push back. Because if you don't push back, those narratives become the prevailing narratives. They become the ones that people default to. Because most people are not taking the time to think and really critically engage with these topics. They just take whatever they hear, whatever sounds nice. It is up to us to push, to fight, to keep teaching, to keep repeating, to keep pushing the counter narrative against these false promises, these false solutions, this carbon sequestration and all these different things, all these things they try to push us as successful technologies that we can use. Say they want to bioengineer the weather and things like that. You know, Bill Gates once wanted to shade the sun. You know, these fanciful ideas when they are more easily accessible and more nature-rooted ideas all around us. We have to be vigilant and push these ideas against them. You know, so we have to push and spread our ideas as much as possible. That's repetition. We must never tire of repeating our message, repeating our ideas, repeating our ideals. We can never be tired of repeating it over and over and over and over again. There's a quote that said that everything that could be said has been said, but no one was listening. So we have to say it all over again. You have to repeat. Repeat the ideas in different ways, in different lenses, in different contexts. Do it in drama, do it in poem, do it in song, do it in posters, do it in slogans, do it in essays, do it in videos, do it in podcast. Do it in every way you can repeat. Write it in the sky if you can. Do everything we can to always repeat the ideas over and over again. It gets reinforced. That's how you convince people. That's how you get people to see things in your way. Even we know ourselves, like you can see an ad 8, 10 times before you actually click. You know, it takes time for it to sink into your mind and convince you to take action. Never get tired of repeating the idea, repeating our call to action, inviting people to the narrative, inviting people to action. You know, should also put the ideas into practice. You know, birth the ideas into space, create spaces for those ideas, make them tangible, make them lived, make them seen, make them physical for people as well, not just as concepts in the mind, places we can point to and say, hey, this is where we are practicing this thing. This is where we are building this thing. This is where you can come and learn more about this thing. We need to manifest our ideas in space as well. We need to seed ideas into culture. You know, culture is a very, very powerful thing. It's a very subconscious thing. It's the way we live, talk, interact, fashion, food, clothes, art. Culture is a very powerful tool. That is why the US put so much money into Hollywood, because that is soft propaganda. When you watch a movie and aliens when you come to US, they're telling you that US is the most important place in the world. That's where aliens will come if they came to Earth. You know, when they always make the US Army the good guys, they're always the saviors. That's all propaganda. You know, that is all subconscious feeding into your minds on how you should view these topics and view these people. We have to do the same. Seed our ideas into culture, into books, into stories, into movies, into songs, into these ideas that we believe in. We need to seed them into culture, because that is how they sink into the minds and subconscious of people. And we need to sell. Don't be afraid to sell. Sell our ideas and sell the aspirational aspects of the ideas. People need to know what they are buying. People need to know what they will get. Why is it so important that we should eat healthy food? You know, why should we not have GMO? It should be aspirational for you to eat healthy organic food. It should be, that is what I want the most. It shouldn't be, because now people will push GMO and say this one is more technologically advanced, but that's not a good thing. You know, you should push that nature is the ultimate aspiration that you should aspire to. What God has made is perfect. You know, we need to push the aspirational aspects of our ideas and our ideals, because that is what people buy. That's what people respond to. And finally, we need to track the numbers, you know, but we need to also work to improve the numbers. What gets measured gets improved. But we need to look at the leading indicators, not just the lagging indicators. So a lagging indicator is a result after the fact, like your weight right now when you step on the scale. That is the result of whatever you've been doing for the past year, whether your exercise or your eating habits or whatever. That's the result. A leading indicator are the things that you do to get that result. So how many times you exercise in a week? How many times you eat in a week? What do you eat? If we focus on the leading indicators, we will get the lagging indicators that we are looking for. You know, so we focus on things like the quality of our ideas, how we package those ideas, how fine our videos look, how fine our posters look. Those things matter, you know, how much we put it out there, how much we share it, how much we put it in front of, how much we repeat it. Those are the things we focus on to make sure that our, you know, ideas get traction, they get resonance, they get viral, they get spread, they get put out there. So we need to focus on the things that we need to do to get the actions and the results that we are looking for. And if we do all these things, then we will become strong influencers and proponents in our spaces of our ideas.